You ready to start? Okay, we're on the record. Good morning, everyone. Judge Eleanor Stein has joined us for today's session. Are there any preliminary matters before we begin? Okay, hearing none. If Con Edison could call the first witness.
Okay, Dan Rosenblum, Con Edison. We have the Steam Infrastructure Operations Panel. Do you have any corrections to your testimony?
They've already been entered into the record. No additional ones.
The panel is available for cross.
Can I have you gentlemen stand, please? Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And do you adopt your pre-filed testimony as your sworn testimony in these proceedings?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay. Is the union here today?
Yes.
I have you as first on my list. We have you down for 30 minutes approximately.
I hope you're so much shorter. Good morning. My name is Sidney Calvin. I am General Counsel for Utility Workers Sector 1-2, and I do have some questions for the panelists. Documents which the company has produced indicate that for the year 2012, Steam Operations had 420 weekly employees and 224 management employees. Is that correct?
Repeat those numbers again.
420 weekly employees, 224 management employees.
Your Honor, David Warner from Con Edison. Perhaps you can refer them to the document you're referring to?
It is attached to the union's testimony as exhibit number 4. It was produced, I'm not sure if it's a response to a question from the staff or the city, as question number 31.
That's correct.
Is that an average for calendar year 2012, or is that a snapshot from a certain date?
So these slots, whether they're union or management, is a moving slot, right? There's people always with attrition, there's people taking other jobs, so it's moving. That number was the year end.
That's December 31, 2012 number?
Yeah.
Why do you need more than one manager for each 2 weekly employees?
So you can't look at that totally as union to management relationship. The span of control has to do with some of the management positions supervisory, and some are technical in nature and engineering. So every management person doesn't necessarily have a union employee reporting to them. So you can't look at that in regard to the split of reporting from management to union.
How many of those are engineers who do not have any union employees under their supervision?
I don't have that number available.
Do you have any sort of breakdown of the management number?
No, sir.
I just want to further add that it's not only engineers. It could be analysts, environmental specialists, computer specialists, added to the non-supervisory role.
Please turn to page 37 of your rebuttal testimony if you can. You see that at lines 18 to 20, you state that new technology programs run by management are partially responsible for an increase in management employees?
Page 37 of rebuttal, is that right?
Yes.
37. Which specific line?
Lines 18 to 20.
Okay, so what's the question, sir?
No.
Right. What are the new technology programs?
The steam distribution as a result of the steam incident action plan.
I can't speak up, please.
In steam distribution, as a result of the steam incident action plan from the 41st and Lex incident, we implemented new technologies on the distribution system, remote monitoring of our structures and our traps. So these new programs are some of the technical programs that require management to be able.
And why is that done by management instead of by targeting unit employees?
The monitoring of these,
Yes.
these were projects that needed to be implemented. So some of these were project managers and analysts that would interpret the data and provide corrections and improvements as we continue to implement the system.
Right. So the management is there to put the new technology in place. Is that it? Is that what you're saying?
The union is also used to install the infrastructure as well.
You also state that another reason for this increase is contractor oversight. Can you please explain that?
Contractor oversight is that's a group that's assigned to administer contractors that would be working for team operations.
Has that increased in team operations?
The contractor
Yes.
use or the oversight.
Both.
From what period?
From, let's say, end of year 2010 to end of year 2012.
No, in the distribution side, we have not had any increase in contractor activity.
And
We have added additional oversight.
you have added oversight.
Yes, both on the managers and union side.
And from end of year 2012 to date, have you added any contractors since then?
Well, contractors is a relative term. We don't hire individual contractors. We have a term contract to do a certain type of service. So the number of contractors will fluctuate depending on the work that is assigned to them.
All right, so you have a term contract and the number of contract employees that are used to fluctuate, is that what you're saying?
The number of contractor employees will fluctuate, yes.
How many contract employees are regularly working on the Con Edison team operations?
As we stated in our testimony, we do not track the number of contractors working for us. However, we did provide a list of the type of contractor services that we provide.
Don't you get billed by these contractors?
Yes, sir. There's a process, obviously, that is associated with the work that specific contractors do. The contract to submit specifics associated with that job. What we're saying is we don't tabulate all contractor work together in a sum number.
But you do have that information for each contractor, do you not?
No, for each job we have that information.
So if you have two contractors working on the same job, you don't know how many workers are from one contractor and how many workers are from another?
For a specific job, we would, sir. But you asked if we have a number of contractors in aggregate. We don't have an aggregate list of them.
You can't add the numbers together?
There's many, many jobs. There's no benefit to us to add those numbers together.
There's no benefit to Con Edison or to the ratepayers to know how many contractors are being paid on jobs?
I didn't say we didn't know who was getting paid. I said there was no benefit to us to know whether it was a number 12 or 10 or 30 in a month. Each job is tracked by contractor oversight, and we look at that and make sure that the bills are appropriate for the invoice.
Oh, and so we had asked a question during discovery about the contractors, not contractor employees, but contractors who are being paid for 12 consecutive months. And we were told that you don't track that information either. Is that accurate?
Your Honor, before they, could we at least get a reference to the question that we're referring to in this question?
I don't think we need to have a reference at this point.
I think it's very important to have a reference if you'd like them to address the question.
Can the panel address the question without looking at the particular interrogatory?
I'll take it a touch. Contracts that we use are to provide a task. So we're not paying contractors on an individual basis. We're hiring a contractor to perform a job. So we don't dictate the number of contractors that are required to be reported each day to perform a job. We're hiring a firm to perform a project or a task, and they will determine the employees that they need to perform that task based on the schedule that we provide them. So the contractor will determine the number of employees that they need on a given day rather than a company. We're not paying the contractors individually, we're paying the firm that we hired to perform the work.
The question, though, dealt with the contractor firms, not the contractor employees, that are being paid for 12 consecutive months. Do you have that information or not?
We're not paying individuals on a 12-month consecutive basis.
We're not asking about individuals. We're asking about contractor companies.
We're paying for the work that is performed.
You have
a unit price contract. If they perform a certain number of units, they bid on a price, and they will get paid for the amount of work they perform, not based on the employees.
Do you have documentation of payments to contractor companies month to month? It's not that difficult a question.
That was not put into our testimony that we provided how much was paid to contractors on a month-to-month basis.
I realize that. There was an interrogatory, and your answer was that you do not track that information. I was wondering if you have documentation of the names of contract companies that you pay each and every month.
I do not have that information.
Does Con Edison have that information?
I do not know whether they have it for every contract on a month-to-month basis. Okay.
All right. Let's take a time out for a second. I want to see if I understand what's going on here. You have an entity that puts in a bid and is awarded a contract by Con Edison. That entity then hires subcontractors to do the work. Okay, so when you guys are talking about contractors in this discussion, are you talking about the subcontractor companies that are doing the work, or are you talking about the entity that signed the contract with Con Edison as being the contractor?
Our initial question, Your Honor, deals with the contractors whose names are on the contract with Con Edison and who
Okay.
are to be paid under that contract with Con
Okay,
Edison.
so let's say there's 10 contracts that Con Edison has signed. I'm assuming that you keep track of how much you pay on those contracts and that you have that information available on some kind of a periodic basis. Is that correct?
Yeah, I will have it on the job that they're performing, how much gets paid each month by job,
Right.
and how much will get paid for that particular contract.
And I'm assuming also that you may not know how much of that money is ending up in the hands of individual subcontractors, because that's not your problem.
That's correct.
Okay. Does that help clarify things?
It helps to clarify, but I still don't understand why we don't have information as to what contractors to whom Con Edison has been making payments for 12 consecutive months.
Well, I think if the question was, for every contract, do you have the numbers by contract, the answer would be yes. Is that right? They don't have it organized by, one contractor might have 3 contracts. They don't have it divided up by contractor. They have it divided up by contract job, is what you're saying.
Yes.
And that information you have and could provide if it wasn't already provided.
It has not been provided, Your Honor.
Okay. Is that something you want provided?
We'd like to see that, yes.
Okay, so for what period of time do you want it?
I believe we asked from January 2012 to date.
On a monthly basis, is that?
That would be good.
Okay, does the panel understand the request?
The request is for a contractor that we have on site for a 12-month period, how much that contractor is paid by Con Edison.
No, I think your request was for, did you start in January of 2012 or 2013?
2012.
All right, so for calendar year 2012, on a monthly basis, a list of all your contracts and how much you paid on a monthly basis on those contracts.
And continuing to date to 2013, Your Honor, if you could.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Good. Does the panel understand the request?
Your Honor, can you just repeat it one more time?
Okay, beginning January 2012, on a monthly basis until the most recent data you have, a list of all the contracts you have and how much you paid per month on each contract.
To each contract?
No, it's by contract. Okay,
So if you
if
have 3 contractors on the contract, it'd be separated out as like contract.
The contract is awarded to one firm.
Okay, do you now understand the request?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, if you could please provide that for the record, and we will reserve exhibit number 808 for identification for that document. If you could provide it electronically to all parties.
Your Honor, just so we can clarify, I believe the union is asking for construction contracts and contracts that are relevant to the type of work that the union does. There are security contracts for providing security at some of our buildings. There are facilities maintenance in terms of house cleaning and other things which are not union responsibility. So I'm assuming that we are not referring to contracts that are not relevant to issues that the union has put into this case.
Well, let's ask, what was the intent of your original interrogatory?
It is for all contracts, Your Honor. We don't want Con Ed to determine what is relevant and what is not relevant.
All right, then the request is for all contracts.
And Your Honor, if we could, although this is a steam panel, can we have the same request for gas and electric?
I'm willing to say yes, but if it becomes too burdensome, then I want the company and the union to get on the phone with the judges and work out any differences. Okay.
If we return to page 38 of the rebuttal testimony. On page 8, you state that AP5 Schedule 3 is not a staffing plan. Has Con Edison ever put out or put together a staffing plan for STEAM for 2014 or for any future year?
As we identified in our testimony, when we look at our O&M costs, one of the items that we look at is manpower. And we look to see what that would be with regard to when we put our budgets together. It's not a manpower plan, but it's an input to our budget development.
So is this exhibit that was produced is your input into your budget development?
I think we can look at AP5, but I think, of course, one of them it said drafts, and another one said that it was not a plan. Make that statement.
I'm having trouble hearing.
We said we developed those projections, for lack of a better word, associated with when we develop our budget for the upcoming year. It's not a staffing plan. It's an input to the development of our O&M budget.
Then is it fair to say that is Con Edison's projection for developing this budget?
It's an input, yes. But it's a number, as I said earlier, that moves on many things. It moves on nutrition. It moves on personnel moving from organization to organization. And it also moves based on if a position has to be filled, how long it takes to fill that position. So there's many inputs to it, and it's not a hard number.
But it is what you're shooting for.
So each facility has what we refer to as a budgeted and an actual. And I guess you could say that that's what we put out, what it looks at, yes. But, so if STEAM at the end of the year has a target of 660 employees, that may be where we end up. But it's not a hard number. It moves. Sometimes we may be above it a little bit, sometimes we may be below it a little bit, both on the management side or the unit side. Then I forget.
Isn't it true that during the lockout a year ago, there were several jobs in STEAM which were not handled or were not handled completely by management or by contractors?
What specific job do you refer to?
I'm not referring to any specific job.
In the testimony, I saw nothing from the union that identified staffing levels had any impact on performance within STEAM operations.
I'm asking you the question. I'm making it happen.
I think it would have to be specific to what job you believe was.
Your Honor, we're going to object to that question. It's overly broad, vague. You just answered the question.
I'm not sure how it's broad or vague. We're talking about less than 300 employees.
It's a huge department to have the union come in and say, and make claims about a job without identifying the job and the specifics that surround it is really sort of unfair to the panel, and it doesn't help in developing a record in this case.
The panel should know whether some work went undone because they didn't have enough people, and they should be able to answer this question. It's not that difficult a question.
Your Honor,
So I'm going to allow the question.
in terms of asking the answer, he did say that he was unaware.
I didn't hear that part. I heard a different answer related to the union's testimony.
So I specifically could not identify what some work might not have done. But within STEAM operations, obviously, we were able to man all our facilities, which included East River, 74th Street complex, all that goes under that, and 59th Street and STEAM distribution by management employees, and we were able to continue with continuity of service for this.
Isn't it true that once the lockout was over, union crews had to be dispatched to jobs which managers and or contractors were not able to complete during the lockout?
We always have work. We never have a zero balance on it. There's nothing left on the plate. So the fact
Please turn to page 41 of the rebuttal testimony. And read your answer at lines 7 through 17.
The answer starting on line 7?
Yes.
You asked me to read that aloud?
Not necessarily loud. You could all just read it yourself. In what way are documentation requirements relaxed during emergencies?
So in regards to the relaxation of paperwork, the documentation in emergencies, contractors that are brought in are not assigned these work that is performed by the union. So I think this answer is tying into mutual aid assistance. In STEAM, we don't have mutual aid that was used, so the relaxation that may have applied to mutual aid workers is not applicable to STEAM operation.
And with regard to contractors?
With contractors, the documentation that they provide is really not, they're really just providing their manpower sheets, the documents that are provided by our oversight people of the contract. So the work that's performed is overseen by contracts and employees, and that documentation is provided for the contractor for payment purposes. The contractors are not submitting documentation on work they perform.
So the contractors do not provide information about what work they perform?
They keep track of what work they are performing, and then it's reviewed with the oversight personnel for verification.
And then
once it's approved, then they'll submit an invoice for payment.
Are the oversight personnel at the scene of the work, or are they back in an office?
No, they're overseeing the work that's being performed.
They're overseeing the work at the work site?
At the work site, yes.
Are those management employees or bargaining unit employees?
Union employees and management employees.
So Steam operations did not do follow-up inspections with regard to Sandy, as indicated in your answer?
Of course, we did follow up. We did, after Sandy occurred, we did assessments to our facilities to determine what equipment had to be addressed. That was a combination of both union and employees, members from engineering.
In your answer, you state that following the work by contractors and you also refer to mutual assistance workers, as with all major storms, the company follows up with an inspection process.
As I stated, after Sandy, each system in the plant was walked down by plant personnel and engineering to determine equipment affected, develop a plan to get that equipment back into service.
But is there a follow-up to the work done by the contractors to double check what they did?
When we had contractor support during Sandy, that work received the same level of oversight and verification that the job was done correctly as it would have had it been a non-Sandy, post-non-Sandy. We made no difference.
Do any of you sit on the union management contracting out committee?
No. No.
Have any of you ever attended any of the contracting out committee meetings?
No.
Do you have any idea as to what, if anything, Con Edison has done as a result of that committee to record and maintain detailed records regarding its use of contractors?
No, I'm not aware.
I have nothing further.
Thank you. New York City, I have you down for 30 minutes.
Good morning, panel. My name is Jay Goodman with Couch White. I'm here on behalf of the City of New York. Panel, can you tell me when your initial testimony was prepared?
I believe it was subject to check, initially prepared over the summer, and then modifications were made to it over the course of the balance of the year.
On page 8 of your rebuttal testimony, lines 10 and 12, the panel states that after additional review of the cost estimates for each storm hardening project, the cost estimates and schedules were refined. Is that correct?
That's correct.
However, although the cost estimates were refined, there is no change in the total amount of capital projected for storm hardening projects. Is that correct?
That's correct. The bottom line number.
So despite, if the initial testimony was prepared in the summer and then subject to modifications, presumably the storm hardening piece of your initial testimony was developed sometime in the late fall and winter of 2012. So from that point through the filing of rebuttal testimony, approximately 6-7 months later, although you refined the cost estimates of the projects, there was no change to the total capital dollars allocated to the storm hardening program.
That's correct.
Also on page 8, lines 13 to 14 of the, this is rebuttal testimony still. The panel states that projects with updated detailed cost estimates and schedules included. There are then a series of bullet points running through the top of page 10 that itemize some of the changes in project costs. The changes identified on those pages, are those the only changes in costs that were, the only revised cost estimates that were made for the storm hardening projects in the rebuttal testimony?
The estimates are described in testimony in the updated white paper. List out scopes of work for the immediate storm hardening and the final storm hardening project. Update testimony reflects the more detailed estimates reflected from the field walk during the inspections afterwards and looking at equipment and work we had to do.
Aside from the cost changes that are specified on pages 8 to 10 of your rebuttal testimony, are there other changes or other changes made to the storm hardening project cost estimates as reflected in the rebuttal testimony? Or are they fully identified on pages 8 to 10?
Again, so the update testimony in conjunction with the white papers that provide the detail of the specifics of the projects, they reflect the latest estimates.
And those white papers are, the revised white papers are contained in Exhibit SOP 6, is that correct?
That's correct.
And the initial white papers with the initial cost estimates are contained in Exhibit SOP 1, is that correct? Does the panel agree that if you compare the storm hardening project white papers as revised in SOP 6 to the initial white papers as provided in SOP 1, that the total cost estimate for each project, for each station, does not change from direct or not?
The total number on the bottom for each of the stations that are reflected is the same number.
Turning back to the rebuttal testimony. Page 8, line 15, 74th Street project. The company says the total cost is now decreasing by $17 million. Page 9, the next bullet says total cost of that project is increasing by $5 million. And there are several other changes through page 10. The total cost changes identified on those pages is a decrease of $21 million. Where is that decrease reflected in the storm hardening project budget? It's provided in the exhibits?
Yes. Let me just provide you with some more information. So there was updated testimony that was submitted on the record. The projects that are listed there are just high-level descriptions, and the added wording is schedules include but are not limited to the description here. So that's what the portion says. And the detailed white paper has the description of the project itself and its scope. So I just step back a minute and describe the project itself. So the concept at the steam station is to provide protection for storm. And there is a preventive depth concept here, and that preventive depth is part of the outer perimeter of the station itself. Steel and communication.
If I could interrupt for a moment, I understand the purpose of storm hardening projects. I'm just trying to focus on the cost estimates.
Understood. So what I was trying to get to is that in the interior of the station, in the lower areas, there are a couple of options to protect our equipment. One is to raise the equipment, and one is to build protective moats around it. So if you go into the white paper, you'll see that the estimates for that change varied somewhat a little bit. But we, as we went through our walkthroughs and designs, we looked for the best available repair approach to
the white papers are SOP 6. When you refer to white paper, you mean the projects and cost estimates as set forth in SOP 6, correct?
Your Honor, ma'am?
Yeah, let the panelist finish whatever he's going to say before you cut it, okay?
I apologize, Your Honor.
Whether he goes off topic or not, just let him keep talking.
And Your Honor, excuse me, may I interject one point? Just to make it crystal clear, a couple corrections to the testimony that I think we should be clear about. On page 8, line 13, we had a correction adding but are not limited to after included. On page 8, line 19, add including installation of additional nodes before 8.0 million. Just to make sure
Thank you.
we're on the same page here.
Okay.
These are the corrections we're listening to.
Thank you. All right, let's get back on track. Let the witness answer. Take a deep breath and then ask the next question. Please proceed.
So on page 8, with that addition, not included in the reduction in number is raising of equipment in the area of the plant is slow. So it's not a reduction, it's just it's an inclusion. It was originally 22 million, and currently the plan for that active and passive protection for the lower area is about 17 million. What did change is the cost of protection on our tunnel protection, and that went up after we did some more detail.
To make sure I'm following that correctly, are you saying that there was a change in the total? What was the total change in the cost estimate for the project at 74th Street in total?
In total, it's the same number for the project itself. For 74th Street, it is $38,500,000 over the previous period, from 14, 15, 16. There was immediate work that's included in that was completed in 13.
And on the description on the bottom of page 8 of your rebuttal, where there's a different decrease of $17 million in the estimated cost, where is that reflected in the white paper?
If you would refer to the white paper, SLP 695, 37th page, there's a series of projects, line items listed there that describe both mold walls and raising of electrical equipment. And if you were to look at that in comparison to the original 22 million, you'll see that the combination of those two have changed from 22 million to 15 million. Again, it's a combination of approaches to protect our equipment, either mold wall or raising the electrical equipment. And that was developed from the initial estimates. So we wanted to look for the most cost-effective way to do that.
I have a couple questions regarding the prioritization analysis on the storm hardening project. I'd like to direct the panel's attention to its response to City 74, which was included as page 4 of the city's gas steam infrastructure panel for the 1. I have a copy that I can hand to you. The copy for the panel to refer to.
Does the city have a couple extra copies, please?
I have one additional copy. It was included as an exhibit.
It's an exhibit, you guys should already have it.
On page 2, the panel states that given the timing of the storm, all storm-related projects and programs for 2013 were approved outside of the optimization model. When the panel states given the timing of the storm, does it mean the timing of the storm with respect to the preparation of the rate filing?
So what we're referring to here is the immediate hardening projects. Which were undertaken right after the impact of Sandy. Since then, we have prioritized the infrastructure projects for the Sandy response, storm hardening, and capital optimization.
Okay, focusing on those immediate storm hardening projects. Can the panel explain, given the timing of the storm, timing with respect to what event? Was it with respect to the rate filing that those immediate projects were not run through the optimization model?
It was with respect to the rate filing. However, they've been subsequently updated in the filing. One of the attachments.
You mean the update included an analysis of the immediate storm hardening projects under the optimization model?
Correct. The storm hardening projects have been optimized in the company optimization.
For 2013, the immediate storm hardening project?
For 2013 and 2014. And subsequent to that.
If I could just interject for a moment, would you mind just explaining exactly what the 74th Street facility consists of? What's there?
So the 74th Street is one of the steam generating stations that we have. It has 3 high-pressure boilers, 6 package boilers, and 2 gas turbines. So the facilities that we're talking about, 74th Street has that, Ravenswood has 4 boilers, 60th Street has 6 boilers, 59th Street has 5 boilers, and then East River has the ERP units, bus units 6 and 7, and the South Steam Station. So our system is made up of 5 locations that have various components at each location.
And 74th Street has both gas and steam?
It has gas turbines that can feed the electrical system and also provide flat start capability. And the boilers only produce steam output that goes to the steam system.
Thank you.
Panel, a moment ago you testified that after the initial rate filing, the immediate storm hardening projects for implementation in 2013 were run through the capital optimization model. Can you tell me where in the record that information is presented, either the fact that that was done or some summary or description of the analysis itself?
Number 104, question about how it was prioritized and how the optimization system worked. And the attachment EPS 13 has 104A. It's the capital work that's planned for the next several years will be added to the hardening projects listed. So they're relative value to the rest of the projects.
That was DPS 104, is that correct? I have a minute to reference that. And you said the other document was an attachment to DPS 104?
Correct. DPS 104A.
Now, page 17, or it's pages 13 through 17 of your rebuttal testimony, you address staff's proposed reductions to the emergency budget capital. Isn't it correct that the company is testifying, the panel is testifying that the emergent work program budget reductions that were proposed by staff would interfere with operation of the capital optimization process?
That's correct. That's our update.
And the company shifted some emergent work dollars allocated for emergent work program from emergent work to the storm mining program. Is that correct?
That's correct. 13 shifted dollars. Impact on
Was there analysis done with respect to the amount of dollars that were shifted, that the remaining budget would be sufficient so as to not interfere with the operation of the capital optimization process?
That's by definition why we need emergent work. Right now in 13 we are down to minimum funds for emergent type work that comes up. So projects, emergent equipment that fails that we have to repair would interfere this year on those particular projects. We would have to use the optimization system and defer an important job that we already had planned for this year to allow the emergent work that we need to run the operation.
Did you ever use the optimization model or some of the prioritization analysis to determine how much of the emergent work dollars shifted to storm hardening?
We used the optimization model to come up with the projects that were shifted for the storm hardening work, including the road work. And we made those shifts in the plan and the update.
One last question, or series of questions. We turn to page 22 of the rebuttal testimony. Starting at line 9, the panel testifies that assuming all of the assumptions underlying the company's other programs come out as anticipated, and there are emergent projects to address, some projects may be deferred in order for the company to stay within budget. Likely or often does it actually happen that all of the assumptions underlying other programs actually come out as anticipated?
Can I ask you to speak on?
How likely is it, how often does it actually happen that all of the assumptions underlying the company's other programs actually come out as anticipated?
Obviously, many things change in a given program. Dollars, of course, scope of work, type of equipment that comes up with problems. That's what we're referring to. So we list our projects. We try to stay to that list, but things can change. But we manage to allocate a set of funds for a given reason. That's what we're trying to do.
Things change, those come up, priorities may be shifted, the company has discretion to reprioritize, accelerate, or defer projects, and that's done routinely, right?
If there's equipment failures or things emerge, that's why we have to adjust our program. That's why how the optimization program works.
The description of how the optimization program works, doesn't that mean there will be changes with respect to the assumptions underlying other programs?
Yes, what happens is things do emerge, if you will. Things do change, projects change, the hours associated with projects do change. So that's why we have to use the optimization program to help us focus on the priority projects and within the guidance.
And it's those periodic updates or changes that you expect, along with optimization model that's used to determine, to some extent, how much of the emergent work budget is used versus deferral. Or from a certain amount of discretion in management of the budget is what the parents say. Is that correct? And the expectation is that whatever the budget is, you're going to manage your program to that budget.
We manage to publish it.
I have nothing further.
DPS staff for approximately 10 minutes.
Your Honor, usually DPS staff goes last.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, we do have 5 minutes.
I sent you an email last time requesting a little additional.
Oh, no, well, 5 minutes is just an estimate.
Stuart Glass for Assemblywoman in Bowling. Can I direct your attention to SOP 5?
Hold on, we're turning to it.
We have it.
If you look, it seems to be that it's broken down into 4 groupings. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Can I draw your attention to the first grouping? Can you provide some clarification? It says electric plant in service, and it says steam production plant, but the total for that first grouping says total steam production. What is that first grouping supposed to represent?
Just give me a second, I gotta review it, the font is small.
Take your time.
Okay, can you repeat your question now?
Yes, what is that grouping supposed to represent?
Electric plant in service, steam production plant, total steam production. Subject to check, that is my belief that that is the book force and the accumulated depreciation for the gas turbines at the Hudson Avenue generating station.
Can you speak up? I'm having a little trouble hearing.
Under electric, under the exhibit SOP 5, Hudson Avenue Station, for electric plant and service steam production plant. Under those sets of descriptions, under the total steam production, that represents the book cost, the accumulated depreciation, as well as the net book value of the electric gas turbines at the Hudson Avenue generating station.
And which system is that currently listed in?
That is listed under the electric system, as those gas turbines are electric only.
Thank you. We can go to the second set on other production and total other production. Do you see that?
I do, I'm just studying it.
That's okay. What does that represent?
I believe subject to check, that also represents other electric-related production equipment at Hudson Avenue that may still be on the books.
Now that says fuel holders, producers, and access. Would that be referring to what I think is referred to as Hudson Avenue Annex?
In May, I don't see any denotation to Hudson Avenue Annex in this breakdown, but this could be the portion of the fuel for the gas turbines. There's a kerosene tank there, among other items, obviously subject to check. It may well, it may also be affiliated with Unit 10 and 100, also known as Hudson Avenue.
You're dropping off.
It may also be associated with Unit 10 and 100, also known as the Hudson Avenue Annex.
Is it-
Subject to check, I couldn't tell you for sure.
You are indicating that you are transferring attempting to transfer approximately $93 million from the steam system to the electric system, which is reflected in your fourth item. Is that correct?
Yes.
Does that fourth item include the Hudson Avenue Annex?
My understanding is that the Hudson Avenue Annex is already in electric. So the $92 million does not include Hudson Avenue Annex.
When was that transferred to electric?
That unit was always in electric. That was in electric without.
And maybe I have a misunderstanding of what's been referred to as Hudson Avenue Annex. The area where the fuel oil tank farm is located, is that considered Hudson Avenue Annex, or does that have a separate designation?
The fuel oil tank farm is not the Hudson Avenue Annex.
But you are transferring the fuel oil tank farm to electric. Is that part of the $93 million?
I believe it is subject to check.
And aren't there and that has a storage capacity of roughly 2.7 million gallons. Do you accept that subject to check?
But currently, the kerosene tank that provides fuel for the gas turbines is 100,000 gallons.
But there was an investment